I'm working out my composition now here, finding my figures, simply using chalkboard chalk. You could also use pastel. I like using the chalk because it's easy to change. And here I'm kind of seeing shapes that look like headdresses. Blocking in my figures, deciding to change things so that it is a different height. So I've made this messy background using predominantly blues with a little bit of warm colors, and I've used a round stamp on it, which was just a piece of insulation pipe. Using a large color shaper brush here, this is silicone, and it's great for working in different mediums, and I like it for quick blocking in. You can get the job done quickly. So I'm just painting around these shapes, painting the negative space. I'm using a titanium white mixed with a little bit of blue. The background color will change, so I'm not worried about the shade in particular. Now I've adjusted the height of this painting as I'm a little vertically challenged. I use a painting wall with screws in it, and that makes it super easy to move the painting around. So this canvas is 24 by 48 inches. Now I'm doing some asemic writing in the background, just in my wet paint, and making some marks with my catalyst wedge that has the little divots in it. Now I'm coming back in with a smaller color shaper in around my figures. Reducing the headdress on this particular gal. And again, if you let too much go, you can always paint it back in. But do try and save more in the beginning. Once you do the negative painting, the composition really starts to come to life. Using a smaller color shaper brush here. And once again, repositioning that canvas. I've mixed up a large batch of my background color. I like to keep it in small tubs or repurposed jars from creams. It will stay quite well, providing it's well sealed. Switching to a brush 1-inch flat, Kids Crayola brush. I'll leave the links below in the description for the products that I have used to create the painting. So I'm starting to work back into the bodies now and the dresses and just embellishing them a bit, but I want to leave a lot of that understory. You have to continually think of balance when you're adding color, because it can certainly throw things off. So if you add some in one place, you want to balance it out in another. Bringing some red over to this side of the painting. And again, if you don't end up liking what you do, you can change it. Defining the beginning and the end of the figure so it stands out from the other. Deciding which figure might be more forward and which one recedes. To stay loose, it's important to hold your brush back a distance from the bristles. This way you have less control. Here I'm coming in with a Liquitex paddle brush, and I've got a dark color. I'm going to paint the negative spaces around the legs that I have chalked in. I know it's hard for you to see them on the video, but they will start emerging here pretty quickly. I find doing this rather than painting the legs in, I get better results as I leave some of the background in the legs. I try and leave some of that color in as I go forward, but again, I might lose it all, but this is my way of doing it. If you prefer to paint the legs in after, that's fine, or if you paint them in before, there's no right or wrong. Just showing you my techniques here. And for this dark color, I've used a dioxazine purple. So this is just straight out of the bottle, and it's a nice dark rich color. So there we have the legs. So the figures are starting to really pop out now. Adding a bag here, and I'm just painting it in. So I'm using cadmium orange. I like the cadmium orange straight out of the tube. It is one of the bonus colors I often use. I find it's just not a color I can mix. You could do this with collage if you wish to test your shapes before you commit. Adding a little bit of that orange throughout the painting so it all connects. I like to use what's left on my brush if I can, so I'm not constantly cleaning it off or wasting it. But I normally have a canvas or a paper on the side that I'm offloading my paint on. This will be the start of another painting or collage paper. Just going in around some of these shapes, trying to preserve the round stamp. And sorry, I didn't move my canvas down there, but I put a little bit of orange paint. Again, defining the edge of the dress in this case. Connecting that shape. Coming back in with some teal. Again, this is straight out of the bottle. I do like the Golden Paints teal color. And I'm using a fluid paint. Off on the side, you'll see that I have my paints in a large, oversized ice cube tray. This is a nice way to have some mixed paints or paints out, and you can just pop the lid back on when you go for lunch or leave for the day. Yes, this white spot has to go. Wherever your most contrast is in value is where your eye is going to go. So I certainly don't want it to go down to that area. So that looks much better now that that white is gone. Using color and balancing color is just something that you have to practice to learn, to train your eye. And don't be scared of using paint and many layers. If you're just learning, try student grade paint. I often start my underpainting with student grade and then maybe add some better quality pigments on top. So you don't have to use the most expensive paint to practice. The real difference between student grade and professional paint is really the pigment load. So in the less expensive paint, there's going to be more filler. That may cause you to have to use more layers to get more vivid colors. So depending on what you want, you may not be saving a lot of money over the long haul. But certainly for practice, the student grade paint works well. Amsterdam is a good brand and easy to find. There's also Liquitex Basics. Now back into the faces here. Now you could leave the faces colored as well. I want these faces to look a little darker, but not so dark that they're too contrasty for the background, but still making them a warmer brown skin tone. So using the same color combo for the legs as well. And it's kind of fun sometimes to leave little bits and pieces from the underpainting there. Peeking through, you have to decide what works in the painting, what your style is, how much you're going to keep, how much you're going to let go. You can add collage. You could do fancy tights if you wanted, like whatever turns your crank, really. There's no right or wrong. You want to have fun, be playful, explore your options. If it doesn't work, paint over it. You don't know until you try. You can also use an app like UDoodle to figure things out before you commit to them. I like doing that near the end of the painting so that I don't mess up. But in the playful stage, I like to try things. So it's usually near the end where I will take a picture and put it in an app and test a few things, like whether I'm going to change a color somewhere or if shape needs to be modified. I have a video on the UDoodle app with a tutorial how to use it, how I use it. And it's very easy, it's inexpensive to purchase, and it's so useful. I'm not working from any photo references for this painting. Just really responded to the underpainting of the canvas and brought the figures forward. If this is something that you feel you would like to learn, I have a workshop coming up. Painting the inside of the basket there a dark color, giving it more depth. And again, just enriching the colors. This is ultramarine blue. So there's various blue colors in this painting. There is ultramarine, cobalt, and teal, along with the dioxazine purple, cadmium orange, and a couple different reds. One is pyrrole. At this stage, I'm starting to finesse things more, clean areas up, make some tweaks. Enhancing colors by adding extra layers. I'm starting to add some pattern here on the headdresses. I'm using a little foam stamp. Just making some little polka dot patterning. So I've chosen this as repetition to what I have in the dresses, but just a smaller circle, and I'm adding a little bit of it there as well, just to connect it. Letting go of some of the circles in here for a little plainer part. Deciding to change the color on the basket, but leaving some of that edge to just give it a little bit of extra interest. Adding some polka dots onto this headdress as well. So this time I'm using a different color. Again, repetition is a good thing to do, and you don't want to be over repetitive, but having repetition in your work gives it unity. If you're enjoying my videos, please give a thumbs up, leave a comment or a question, and share it with a friend. All of these things help the channel and allows more people to find the videos and discover the joy of creating for themselves. Painting over this one with a transparent red so that the polka dots still show. And adding some of the lighter blue onto this headdress. Again, if you do something that you don't like, it's easy enough to change. Here I'm trying to scrape back to bring out some patterning, this time something more linear to change up the pattern. So variety, another great element to use in your work. It's just refining things a little bit now. Bringing in some thicker, juicier paint here with a palette knife. This is a nice way to get thicker color and a little bit of texture. Coming in now with a small brush, just adding a little bit of red detail around the edges of the figures in a few spaces. Not to outline it totally, but just to enhance it. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you will try the intuitive figure method yourself and If you need some help along the way, just a reminder that I do have some workshops coming up. And if you miss it this time, I'll be offering them again in the spring, and the dates will be released soon.